back in my intro box, baby. After avoiding the pitchfork and torch crowd, I'm here to ask you, are you ready for the first ever two-guest episode of the What Is Up podcast?
Yeah!
Never before have two come together to form such a dynamic duo since Ross and Rachel, Ike and Tina, no, Starsky and Hutch, oh that's a good one. No, I got it. Today's guests are the Dan Patrick and Rich Eisen of high school sports broadcasting. Of course, we are talking about the creators of the Talk of the Tribe podcast, Zack Ryker and Ryker Oberly. That's right, they will be on the other side of the interview desk for once. Let's see how they handle it. Bubba wanted to have a special episode to kick off summer by having some fun. And who could be more excited about summer break than a couple of high school boys? They are going to talk sports, of course, but Bubba's going to get their opinion on some more serious topics as well, like squatters' rights, and what is up with the hate over Harrison Butker's recent graduation speech. School is out for the summer, so get ready for some fireworks. Here's your host, Bubba Seaman.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what is up? Welcome to a special episode of the What Is Up podcast. We got a first in the history of the podcast. We have two guests in the studio at the same time. Yeah, that's a first for us. We're moving up in the podcast world. We're doing new things. We're trying new things. And you guys, the audience, you can be a part of our meteoric rise by making sure you subscribe, follow, like wherever you listen. Follow our Instagram and our Facebook. Share with all your friends on your social media. Show off your impeccable taste by sporting some of our merch. I'm not getting rich off this stuff. I'm going in the hole pretty good here, but help us get the word out, okay? Once you've done all that, you can sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. We got some youngsters in the studio today, and we're going to kick off summer break by having some fun, okay? I got none other than the creators of the Talk of the Tribe podcast and local Wapsie Valley broadcasting duo, Zack Ryker and Ryker Oberly. What is up, fellas?
Nothing much. We're having a good day. As you can tell, my voice is kind of raspy. That's the life you live when you're a broadcaster now. Voice is gone almost all the time. But I'll let Ryker talk. So,
my voice is also a little down. Cousin got married last night. It was awesome. Awesome venue. Had a perfect time.
What was the venue?
Well, I mean, I don't know what
name
it
of
was. Grumpy's Event Center, wasn't it?
Oh, was it?
Yeah, did it in Reedland, and it looked really nice. They only set it up for like 2 days prior, and it looked like they were doing it for like a month. It was amazing.
Okay.
I've had a wedding reception there too. They do a really good job with doing all their stuff. I know obviously the two people that I know that are on the leaders of board there is Ben and JC Hogan. I helped them kind of remodel it a little bit by doing some of that stuff, taking carpet out. They have done a fantastic job of managing the place. I know there's a lot of other people too. I don't really know who they are, but whoever they are, they've done a fantastic job of getting it ready for people. We've had fireman's breakfasts in there. We've had weddings. We've had a whole bunch of other stuff that happen in there, and there's always something going on. So they do a great job with it.
And the Meat Lovers pizza is so good.
Of course, these guys are thinking food, of course. Man, are you guys ready for summer? Like, we were talking when you guys first walked in, like, there's no better feeling. This is your first weekend staring down the barrel of summer. I mean, how does that make you feel?
And what better way to start summer than some baseball? Why not, yeah? We just got off a big week in our Wapsie Valley baseball schedule. Wapsie's currently ranked 8th in IA baseball and the Bound Coaches poll.
Heck yeah.
We just got out of, the reason why I don't have a voice really is because we spent 4.5 hours at a game. Wapsie versus Hudson ended 2-1 in 15 innings.
2-1.
And if you don't know, high school baseball, we play 7 innings. College, you'll play 9. Obviously, MLB's 9, but in high school, you play 7. We played over 2 games, 2 full games of baseball, with 1 full game not having a single run.
Oh. Oh.
And it's just back and forth and back and forth. And every time we'd get a few runners on, and then we'd just stall. And you're there for so long, at some point you're just like, we don't even care. We just want to go home.
So who was... You guys, obviously, we'll get into how much you broadcast and all that stuff. But the other night, JJ was watching a game on TV, and I didn't hear either of your voices. Who did I hear?
So you would hear Shane Kelly if you're watching baseball.
Okay.
The reason why, Ryker and I both play.
Okay.
So we don't have the time to sit down and, do it as much as we used to.
Oh, okay. Now it's making sense.
We play baseball as much as and honestly, we probably could because we weren't really doing anything. But I have my own responsibility of warming up pitchers before they have to go in a game. Ryker is, big team guy. He's over here cheering all the time and, being the loud, proud kid that he is.
Okay.
And he also helps with some of the bullpen duties as well.
I will never bullpen catch Tucker Louderberg again. That's the most terrifying thing I've ever done.
He is the scariest pitcher I've ever seen.
What's he throw for a fastball?
Around 85.
85?
Yeah.
Like have they put a gun on him? 85?
Mm-hmm. We have a gun. Smokes. We have a speed gun at our games that is up in the press box.
Dude, you hit 80 at high school, and that's fast. He's halfway past 80 to 90.
Most kids in high school throw mid-70s.
Right.
There's a few that throw low 80s. Mid-80s is something you really don't see. He got up to, I think his fastest ever was 87.
Yeah.
And so I've had the responsibility of, bullpen catching and warming him up. And that is without that's without gear. So
I would never catch without gear.
I can have a mask because I have to have a mask when I catch him. But when I have to go out and warm him up before innings, I can't have like chest protectors, shin guards, because I don't want the other team to think that I'm the catcher for that inning. Because I don't want to, mess with them or kind of like make it seem that way. So I walk out in just a mask and my hat, and I sit there with my glove and warm him up for the inning. I think the first game I bullpen or like warmed up Tucker for the inning, I took like 75 or 78 to 80 off the shin with no shin guards. It sucked. Yeah. But, you get through it, and now that we're like 2 weeks into the season, stuff's a lot easier. I know Tucker yesterday wasn't throwing as hard as he usually does, but I'm starting to see it better and, starting to get better at it. Even though, like, I'm not the one that has to face it.
Yeah.
I just have to be the one that has to catch it. So, and you get a lot better at something the more you do it. So.
Yeah. I mean, I would advise you never to catch for anyone without anything, if all you have on is a mask, you're still, man, that hits you in the chest, you could be a goner.
Yeah.
That hits you, in the goodie spot, like you don't have kids.
Kids will be gone.
Yes, your kids will be never.
Well, we don't block when we do that. We just let the ball go by.
Let it go. Okay.
Yep. We don't have to
run out of the way.
I don't have to worry about blocking when I'm doing that because my job is to, warm him up, get him loose.
Yeah. I got it.
We're not really worried about throwing strikes. We're worried about getting his arm loose.
Yep.
And making sure he feels good.
How did we get on this right away? I'm trying to like. Are you ready for summer? And we went straight into baseball talk, warming up pitchers, and I'm just like thinking like, oh yeah, I'm ready. The general answer, but okay, let's get moving here. So what I want is for you guys each take a minute and tell us a little bit about yourself. We're gonna let your voice rest for a little bit.
Yep.
Ryker, you go first. Just like where do you live? Where did you grow up? What do your families look like? And then we'll toss it back to Zach.
Well, I'm going into freshman year.
Okay.
So I'm playing JV baseball. They asked me to come up, play up. Me and Dawson Fenton, also an 8th grader, we're playing JV this year. And I grew up in Reedland all my life. I have a huge family. Some people that they've been out of the high school for a while, but Kix Rosengarten, Calvin Rosengarten, Lydia, Grayson Bronio, they're all my cousins. Cannon Yeager.
How are you related to everybody? We were just joking about that upstairs. I said, hey, last second, Zach and Ryker are coming over today instead of tomorrow because he had a wedding or something and he's got something going on with them. And I was like, he's like related to everybody between Fairbank and Reedland.
Yeah, I'm starting to know a lot more people. Okay. Yesterday at the wedding, I'm like, somebody asked me, you're the podcast guy, right? I was like, I guess that's me, yeah.
You will be surprised how many times I've had people bring it up to me during a baseball game or, during some of the stuff because they know us from from the original broadcast
Yeah.
that I started with, and you will be surprised how many people come up to us and tell us all the time about they love what we're doing and
Yeah.
stuff like that. They
Yep.
know us from that.
Well,
But-
if anyone tunes in, like, obviously I watch some wrestling online, I watch some volleyball online, and you can just see in the comments from the other schools, who are these kids? Or sometimes it might be you and Mr. Forsyth, or volleyball, it was both of you. And, like, I would jump right in there and be like, you don't know who that is? That's Zack and Ryker. Come on, get with it. That's just a
Get
couple of
with the
local
program.
kids, man. Yeah, they're good. But
Believe it or not, we do have other lives besides broadcasting. We do play sports.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they're still kids.
contrary
They're
to
still
popular
kids.
belief.
Right. Okay, so where do you live then? Reedland?
Reedland, like dead end, so on the corner. But it's Reedland, so you only got to walk 5 minutes to get to the other side of town.
Okay.
Oh.
Like lifelong, like that's okay.
Yep, never moved.
Okay. All right. What about you, Zach?
So again, I've lived in Reedland pretty much all my life. There was one little stint where I lived outside of town, but other than that, I've lived in the country pretty much my whole life.
Yep.
There was a little stretch, kind of the last few years, where I lived literally right across the road from town, but we
Okay.
were still outside of town, so we could have animals and stuff like that. My family's big into agriculture.
Yep.
My dad has his American degree in FFA, which is the highest possible degree you can earn.
Okay.
My mom, it was also really into FFA, showing cattle, stuff like that. So we're all really into agriculture. In fact, I just won
Creed speaking.
state creed speaking. Yep.
Yes, I saw that.
Yep. So that's what I've been doing. Starting my FFA journey, starting my FFA career, doing that kind of stuff. But I've always have a connection to the city of Reedland in the state of Iowa, really. I never want to leave this place. I get homesick every time I go out of the state of Iowa. I love being in the state of Iowa. I think it's the best place on earth. I love the small town feel of Reedland.
Yeah.
Nothing will ever beat it to me. Even when I go away for a few days, I'm like, when can I get back home?
Yeah,
Like, I just want to
yeah.
be back home and do all this stuff. And that was kind of how that started. I used to live over by almost by Denver. I was about 5 minutes away from Denver when I where I was born. Yeah, I know, big territory.
No, imagine if things had changed
Oh.
for you.
I can't imagine living in Denver. That seems like
Yikes.
a bad spot.
Yikes.
But
You'd
because
be
obviously as Wapsie people, really,
You'd be rich.
that's the stereotype
You'd
there.
be rich. You'd be golfing every day.
I would be golfing every day. Denver has a nice course. I'll give them that. But
yeah.
obviously as Wapsie people, we don't like Denver. So
Right.
imagine what that would have been like.
And that's like, I get it, because I didn't grow up in Fairbank. I grew up in Dunkerton, and then let me just be the first to tell you, like, a couple years after high school, that stuff kind of starts to fade.
Yeah.
And what I've witnessed, it's always there. Like, us adults live through it, through you kids still living the right. But you really don't. If you bump into somebody at work who's from Denver, it's not like you start snarling at them or anything like that.
Yeah.
that stuff does fit. So enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Long time ago, I was chosen to be like a person for the dairy promoters, Bremen County Dairy Promoters.
Okay.
So you go there. This was when I was like 10 or so. I went to go sell malts at the Denver Bank.
Yeah.
Right on Main Street there. And one of the people who worked there knew who I was. And they were like, I know your dad. And I go, well, that's crazy. She goes, yeah. If you don't remember, the rivalry between Wapsie Denver was so bad that there was Denver people that drove to Wapsie Valley High School and sprayed Roundup on the field
Oh yeah.
and then put mustard and ketchup all over the bleachers and did all that stuff. And then when they drove back to Denver, they get to their house and a bunch of cops are there. They got in a lot of trouble for that.
Wow.
Did you hear what happened? There was
And then Wapsie went back like 2 years later, did the same thing.
Wapsie went over there and did
Yeah.
the same thing.
And rounded up and did like the WV logo on their field.
I remember hearing about some of that. Well,
I think I've heard about this before. Like, apparently one of the girls that did it over at Wapsie from Denver got her scholarship snatched away.
Yeah. I had heard about that.
Yeah, because I think she was going to go to, like, I don't know what college it was. I think it was, like, Iowa. Like, D1 for sports, and it got taken away.
there's nothing wrong with, like, sticking 1,000 plastic forks in the field or something like that. Like, that takes a half hour to get a few kids out there and pull them all
Round
out and
hook
still play the
takes
game.
forever.
But yeah, or people from Denver, like at one point, I think after we had the multi-purpose room like first put up, they spray painted all on the outside, and like that stuff didn't come off.
It's a vandalism.
Yeah, it went to vandalism. It's like, guys, we got to do better than that. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's bad. Rivalry's good. It's healthy. It's fun. But, geez.
Yeah, but we just moved into my grandma's old house just outside of Reedland.
Okay.
We just put up a big new shed. Got all that stuff going for us. So
All right,
got a bunch of animals.
How about your family? Let's give some shout-outs. Brothers, sisters, mom, dad? What do you got?
I'll let Ryker start.
How big's the family, the Oberly family?
The Oberly family is extremely small. It's just me and my grandparents.
Okay.
My extended family is bigger than you can ever imagine.
Okay.
He says he's got a cousin who plays
Not my
Or
first or second cousin. It's my
a
cousin
very
of the cousin.
very distant cousin who's going to play offensive line for the Ravens.
Roger Rosengarten, Kicks and Calvin's first cousin,
Okay.
is starting for the Ravens this year at right tackle.
Okay.
Let it be known, very, very, very distant.
That's fine.
No. Other guy.
still got
I'll
the
take it.
still got the genetics of a
He follows
NFL
me on Instagram.
lineman. Well, that doesn't surprise me.
I know him.
Oh, man. At some point, we're going to end up talking social media, and I'm a total rookie when it comes to that. I got so many family members helping me with that stuff. But I did get a guy from, I'm sure you guys know who the Savannah Bananas are.
Yes.
Yeah.
That guy liked one of my posts the other day or something like that. And I'm like, hey,
There you go.
he's a Christian guy. He posted something Christian.
Yeah, I
was
saw
like,
that on your
okay.
Instagram story. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
So don't be surprised if you see at Brandon Crosby 12 on the What Is Up podcast sometime over Zoom. So
Over Zoom.
We'll
Hey,
see.
if there's one of the best stories that I have from my broadcasting journey, we were sitting in the middle of a basketball broadcast. Ryker and I are sitting up there talking about stuff.
Weren't we losing? I know what you're about to tell.
We were losing
We were both fairly
badly.
mad.
We were losing to Hudson pretty badly.
Yup. That. Yeah, I know.
And all of a sudden, I look at my phone and I get a notification that Victor Voinovich, who is the 141-pounder for the Iowa Hawkeyes,
Okay.
followed me on Instagram. Or not 141, 149.
Okay.
Followed me on Instagram. I freaked out.
On air.
Yes. And I'm like, and Ryker looks at me and he starts freaking out too. We're both like, oh my gosh. Like,
Yeah.
and I had to like refocus and like
Yeah.
get myself back into the delve of like the game. But like,
I've-
that was like,
I've always told my kids, like, I understand, because I didn't grow up with social media, obviously. But there were celebrities when I was a kid, obviously. But, like, we still, at some point, if you can just zoom out and think to yourself for a second, you know what? When they wake up, they have morning breath. You know what I mean?
They're normal people.
They go number 2. They, you know what I mean? They put their pants on the same, like, they're still people.
the most shocking thing to me that I still can't comprehend is the fact that Tom and Terry Brands and Dan Gable live in the state of Iowa.
Yeah. Yeah.
They feel like otherworldly people.
Yeah.
But just seeing how they came from such a small town in northwest Iowa, and you know now they're the biggest coaches in college wrestling,
Yep.
and they live in Iowa. It's like, how does that make sense?
That's it. Well, we're going to talk a little Iowa athletics at some point in the podcast here, but something you guys or one of you shared with me is that you both just got confirmed. That's something you guys got in common. So I was going to give you guys a second. You know, I tell everybody, like, this isn't necessarily a Christian podcast. This is just society, culture, comedy, just real life, real people. You don't have to believe the same thing as me. Obviously, I didn't grow up Lutheran or anything like that. So explain to me a little bit what is confirmation and what does it mean to you? More so the second part.
I'll let Ryker go since he got confirmed last week.
Okay.
Last Sunday, a week from today, I got confirmed. It was an awesome experience. There wasn't many of us. There was only 4 in my class.
Okay.
At St. Matthew's. There was another one at Zion. But yeah, confirmation. For me, it was something. Not every Wednesday we would like all meet up to do our class, and something to look forward to. And not only did we talk about like faith and Jesus and God, we like feelings with each other.
Okay.
And like we compared, we didn't just talk about that. We talked about like what happened at school, who got in trouble, who's still out of detention right now. And
Did a little real life discussion too.
yeah, so it's just something to look forward to for me, which obviously still at the church. It's not like everything's going away. We're still like all best friends, so
Yeah, good.
it's really
Good.
nice.
What did you like? So it's like a Bible education type thing, like a certain
Pretty
amount of
much.
weeks you start digging into the Bible with the pastor or with a.
Not really.
Kind of.
Uh-oh.
Because,
Yes and no.
yeah, so if I had to say anything,
It has
we-
changed a lot.
really?
Because we like dig in, like Pastor Rabari.
Yeah.
We like go into it and then we read a verse and then we're like, how does this connect to your
Oh, well, that
to your
makes
life?
sense.
Yeah. Good.
Last year when it's 7th and 8th graders.
Okay.
So last year was kind of like fill in the blanks. Zach was so good at that. Like he could come up with words and Rabari just be like, "Yep, that's right." I was like, "Whoa, I don't even know what that is." But yeah, it's kind of changed. We do it similarly, but it's more connected and more organized.
Okay. What was your experience?
Well, I started when I went to CLS as a 6th grader, and that was during COVID. So I went back to CLS to kind of hang out with Caleb, who's one of my lifelong friends, and then that was kind of where it started because we had a really good pastor by the name of Pastor Phil. He was super cool, and he wasn't one of those pastors that was all about the Bible and everything. He would find ways to take the Bible and connect it to everyday things.
Oh yeah.
We had a weekly contest called Stump the Pastor. And the contest was you had to bring anything to weekly chapel, and if you could stump the pastor, he'd give you $100. Or he'd give you a prize or something like that. He'd give you a candy bar.
Wow.
But it was a prize. And the reason why no one could ever stump the pastor is because everything and anything has some connection in some sort of way to the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of, obviously, rigged game, but it was, yeah, but it was still really cool to get that early experience.
Yeah.
And every week you'd try to find something that would stump him, and you would think,
Oh, he wasn't asking for like a specific Bible question to stump
no,
him.
it was,
he was
an
asking
object.
anything. Okay.
Like we brought a math textbook, and he found a way to connect that to the Bible.
Okay. Okay.
But moving on to confirmation, I come back and I go to our confirmation 7th grade year, and obviously Ryker said we would get these books, or like these little, like very thin, like paper books, textbooks of confirmation.
Yeah.
And they'd be over the New Testament, or they had a bunch of weird names to them too.
The 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
That was one this year. It did not talk anything about the 10 Commandments, but we learned some.
Yeah. And you would start, and they had a whole bunch of questions in it, and you would read a passage from the Bible, and then you would answer the question.
Okay.
And usually we would start by watching a video, and then we'd have to do a fill in the blank, and then we'd split up 7th and 8th grade.
Yep.
And then you would go do your like individual stuff with your group. So you would do your questions after you read the passage, and then you would do your wrap up, which is how does this connect to everything?
Yep. Yep.
And it wasn't very hard. I learned from what Caleb went through, and he said it was pretty hard for him. He said it was pretty challenging to know it all and get all this stuff down. And it seemed like what he was learning was way beyond what we were doing.
Oh, okay.
Like, I think what we were doing was kind of a simple version of it. And I got confirmed in October of last year. They moved it up to May for this year's class.
Still don't know why, but that's
Yeah,
what
I
happened.
don't know why, but well, it meant more because it was on Pentecost.
Oh, yeah.
For me, it was just a random Sunday in October.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
they moved it up for him, and it was nice.
What was your verse?
My verse was Revelations 21:1.
Do you know what it says?
For their let's see if I remember. It's for there will be a new heaven and a new earth, for the old heaven and the old earth have passed away, and the seas become new.
Nice.
And then it continues to talk about the New Jerusalem and stuff about that. If there's one thing I will take pride in, it is that when I see information, I can usually pick up on it really well, and it kind of sticks with me.
Yeah.
If it's something that I know or that I care about.
Oh, that's good.
So
Yeah, hopefully that sticks with you then, because as I get older, man, on my lunchbox, I have a piece of yellow tape, and I have to write a note to myself to remember to get milk or whatever. Like,
What was your
I
verse?
forget everything.
Mine, I keep it on my wrist all the time. I have a bunch of these wristbands.
Yeah,
and
I see that.
Everybody always asks me, why do you always have them? I said they all mean something to me.
Heck yeah.
Mine's Jeremiah 29:11.
Oh, I know that one.
For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and to not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future.
Yeah, nice. One of the best ways I noticed my daughters have, if you have a handful of verses that you really like or you're trying to memorize or you want to hang on to, get a dry erase marker and put it right on your mirror, your bathroom mirror, if you have your own bathroom, I guess. But even if not, if your parents are going to give you a hard time for writing
a mirror.
Yeah, just put it on the mirror. You see it every day when you're getting ready. You see it
We
every
want to
night.
talk about the most underrated verse included in a song. You can talk about that Keith Urban song. John Cougar, John Deere, John 3:16.
Oh, wow. I'm with you on John 3:16. The rest of those guys, I don't know.
I have that on here too. John 3:16.
Heck
There
yeah,
you go.
that's the gospel in a nutshell right there. Well, good. I was glad to hear because, I didn't grow up Lutheran or anything. I honestly, I tell people I don't care what the sign out in front of your church says. Tell me who Jesus is. Tell me about sin. Tell me about Jesus, and then we can kind of go from there. We're going to talk about how we get right with God. I don't care about all the other stuff, whether you're Catholic, Lutheran, Baptist, Pentecostal, whatever you are. I don't care. I don't even want to know the sign.
Do you
Let's
remember
talk about that?
the Christmas pageant that one year that we had when we had the news reporter?
Oh boy.
So this was the earliest that Ryker and I have ever done a broadcast. I put that in air quotes because it was scripted the whole way through.
It was a musical broadcast.
Yep.
But it was like a church skit, like a
Yep.
church program? Okay.
So
I
Christmas,
love those.
Yeah,
Christmas
me too.
Eve, our church, every Christmas Eve, we always have a musical or like a play.
Nice. Yeah.
Ryker and I were probably 7 or 8 years old, and I got the cast of being the head reporter, or being the news anchor. He was the donkey,
Doug the donkey.
Oh.
from the
Like from the nativity?
yeah,
or
from the
something?
nativity
Okay. All right,
scene.
now it's making sense. Okay.
And at that time, our level of humor was so out of control. We would laugh at just about anything, which we still kind of do. So we were laughing so hard at the script that was ahead of us that we couldn't even get through the first 2 or 3 lines because we were laughing so hard. We ended up getting through the play. And honestly, that is the most fond memory I have of anything that has ever happened in our musical plays or stuff like that. And it reminded us so much because, it's the same story, obviously, every year.
Yeah.
It's the same story, but it's a good story.
Yep.
And being able to tell that to people as such young kids meant so much to us
Yeah.
that it's still, that story from that night still sticks with me.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, we got a couple people in our church, Earl and Jane Canfield. They came from Cedar Valley in Waterloo, and they used to do a big Easter production every year, sell tickets for Easter. And Earl played Jesus, and so shout out to Earl and Jane. When they came to FBC Dunkerton, we started doing dramas and productions and stuff. And when my kids got old enough to do them with me, I was like, you guys are in for a ride. As you get older, mark my words right now, you will look back on this, coming to rehearsals, and then the nights of the programs, and hanging out backstage, and being quiet when the lights are down, and just messing around. These will be some of the fondest memories you ever have, and you guys already get that, and you're still in school. That's awesome.
Me and
That's
Zach
good.
have a pregame before every musical. You want to tell them about that?
So we do what's called the Scuttle Huddle. So
Okay.
you know The Little Mermaid, correct? The movie, The Little Mermaid?
Yeah.
There is a seagull, not pigeon as people like to call him, seagull in the movie Little Mermaid named Scuttle.
Okay.
So what I started the Scuttle Huddle, which was myself, Caleb, and Ryker. Before every musical for the last 2 years, we have done a prayer before every show.
Mm-hmm.
So after we have our big group meeting before we go out and perform, we get in a little huddle, like a football huddle,
Mm-hmm.
and we pray.
Okay.
Just a short little prayer before we go out and perform. It's usually kind of the same story, like keep us safe, do all this, make sure we have a good night, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it has meant so much to us that now almost the whole cast is in on it.
Good.
And we've got it up to about 12, 13 people. We come over, we do our Scuttle Huddle, then we go out and perform.
I think it expands every night that we've done it. Especially this year, people saw us doing it and they ask us even right before we go on, "What do you guys do?" And it was like, we just pray.
Yeah.
You welcome to join everybody's, and I think it's definitely expanded. I feel like even just that little one prayer
Yeah.
has like opened up people's eyes to Jesus and God and what we have, like the pleasure that we have having him in our lives, and it just opens up other people's eyes to what he did for us.
That's it.
And
That's it.
something that I say is before I walked up onto the stage of the state FFA convention because they were going to announce who won state creed speaking, I prayed before I walked up there. I was so nervous.
Yeah.
And we had a very famous FFA member by the name of Abra Meyer who went to Wapsie Valley. She became a national officer. She was the best officer that we've ever had, the best FFA member we've ever had. She got second in state creed speaking. I had a mission from the day I started to beat that. I wanted to win it. I wanted to get it here. I wanted to have it in our school.
Yeah.
I wanted to have it in our program. The night before I go out to do it, the next morning I had the contest, I called Abra. I said, hey, I'm nervous. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. She goes, I want you to just, when you get done, because I got to go, so I'm going to let you go here in a few minutes. I want you to pray. Let him take care of it. You've done all you can.
Yeah, you've done the work.
To get where you are now. Let him decide what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Just let it happen. So that's what I did. I prayed, went the next morning, did the contest. I sat the whole day, nervous about it. When's it going to happen? And then right before I walked up on stage, said a quick little prayer before I walked up. Walked out, got the award, come back. I was so happy. I was so thankful. And I got home and I was like, man, that's crazy. Because it hadn't hit me yet.
Yeah.
And now that it's been a few weeks, been over a month, it's starting to kind of sink in.
Yeah.
That I almost feel that he had a role in that, and that he did what he wanted to do, and that's what he wanted to do. And if I would have got second, if I would have got third, if I didn't even place at all, I would have been okay with it because I knew that's what he wanted. Yeah. And I would have been okay with that.
Yeah. A lot. Yeah. Sometimes you got to remind yourself when you get to the last moment, whether it's sports or anything. You know what I mean? The work's already done. Like I obviously use Friday night football as an example, of course, all the time. By the time you get to Friday night, the work's done, man. Like, this season starts right now. You know what I mean? You're going to walk in Friday night football games benefiting from what you start doing in the off-season, lifting, conditioning, agility. You want to be bottom tier? Well, go chase girls, go to parties, go do all that stuff all summer, and then show up mid-August. Let's see how things work out. No, that's not going to work out very well for you. Put in the work and have fun. Let the results be what it's going to be. That's it. That is it. Okay, you guys, I had something in my notes here I wanted you guys to share. You've already shared a little bit about broadcasting and the podcast and stuff. I need something. I need a story. I need something, specific game that you remember that you love to call, or funny moments, or anything like that. You know what I mean? And I'll give you time to think about that. I'll let that kind of simmer in the back of your head. I want you to think of a specific game or whatever. I mean, the first one me and Sarah watched together, I think it was volleyball. I think you guys were calling it together. And Sarah was like, listen to the chemistry that these guys have. And some of the little one-liners you guys had. You, Ryker, quoted Eminem like half of a line.
These weak arms are heavy, mom spaghetti.
And it's like, that was like when we were younger. How the heck does he know? Like, has music not produced much in 20 years? Wasn't
that the Beckman Catholic game?
That was the Beckman. It went into 5. I think the final score was 13-15.
Yeah.
That was an awesome game.
The Beckman Catholic game was crazy.
And that just impressed Sarah. She's like, did he just, like, that was, like, he perfectly nailed, like, he's saying he's so nervous right now, like, and he quoted that, and I was like, man, that kid's got some
My
character.
favorite is from the John Cena's Basic Thugonomics.
I have no idea what that means.
Oh,
I know who John Cena is.
Yeah, so he had like a gimmick or kind of a thing that he was portraying in the early 2000s. Doctor of Thugonomics.
Doctor of Thugonomics.
So he'd come out in a Bo Jackson jersey, and he'd come out and he would rap all over people.
Okay.
And his big line was, speaking like that is a quick way to get referred to in the past tense. And it was crazy. That was my favorite line. And I was like, oh, yeah. And I think I said it once during a wrestling broadcast.
Okay.
I think we were in that way, and I think I was talking about how one of our guys just threw another kid in a head throw, and just pinned him like that in like 15 seconds.
Was that Creighton? I think it was Creighton.
Yeah. And I go, that kid must have said something before the game, because speaking like that is a quick way to get to referred to in the past tense. And just laid it out there.
Did you get a letter from the other school? Like, hey, that wasn't very sportsmanlike.
Blake just looked at me like, what are you talking about? It was the funniest line I think I've ever said in a broadcast, and I swear if it happens again, I will say the same thing.
Yeah.
Because that was amazing. And I went back, watched it back, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
See, I don't know. This year, what always stood out to me was Garrett Miller and the way he would shoot and pick the other guy up off the ground, and then pretty much land on them. Like it was one of the most violent. I'm new to wrestling anyway. JJ did it for a few years when you guys were like real little,
like 2 or 3,
and then went out of it completely until like you guys all kind of decided as a group or whatever. Caleb was trying to talk everybody into going out as a group in what was it, 8th grade, 7th grade?
8th grade.
So I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, 8th grade. So I started watching again. But yeah, Garrett Miller, I mean, he was just slamming I don't know how I would call that without like coming completely unglued. It was just one of the most violent things I could see out there. I don't know if you could even put it into words. I think most of the time you would just give a big, oh,
yeah.
And it's, how else do you describe, I mean, physically lifting someone off the ground like that.
Just a hammer.
Yeah.
And you lay the hammer down, and the hammer hits the nail as hard as it's gonna.
I don't know him at all. Obviously, I know Grayson a little bit, but like I'm really looking forward to his senior football season, big time. I think he's a heck of a nose guard, heck of a tough kid.
I've had to go up against him in practice. Usually, every time I leave football practice, I usually have a throbbing headache from how many times he just boom hits me, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah. I'm excited for
very,
this year's
very
season.
strong kid.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Okay,
but
how about shout outs? Do you guys have anybody that's kind of helped you along the way as far as the broadcasting or getting up into the creed speaking? You kind of gave a shout out to the one girl already, but you got people you want to take a minute and just mention, just give some thanks to for helping you along the way in any of this stuff?
I would say if we're going to talk podcast, that was going to be Blake and Brett.
Okay.
Blake Bohr, Brett Bergman, they've done a great job in the early stages of our podcast career, getting us off the ground and getting us the products and the equipment needed to do it. So we sat down in the middle of June or in the middle of summer and started. First episode goes live.
Yeah.
Ryker, myself, Blake.
400 views in the first 2 weeks.
The biggest episode we've ever had.
Yeah, I remember it.
Still is. And then it started off a great stretch of episodes. We had the Jalen May episode, which, although bad audio, was a good episode. Had good content.
Yeah.
The Curly Sisters episode is one of the best episodes we've ever done.
That was hilarious. I love that episode.
Yeah.
The Coach Foster episode, amazing. The Austin Shepard episode, even though it was filmed at like 9:30 at night, was still a good episode.
In the beginning, yes, it was very like your fall sports preview, and just I thought to myself a lot, how do you two have the time in the beginning when you were doing like weekly episodes or even sometimes multiple, you were lining up a guest or two, and I thought it was very well done for, having no experience. You guys were beginners just like I was shortly after you guys, because once I heard that first episode and then I saw like the artwork and the logo, and I talked to Blake at the scrimmage, and I was like, oh my God, I think I can do this. If this is what God wants me to do, I think I can do this. Listening to you guys do it, I was like, yeah, this is, they know what they're doing. I can tell they have some direction. But yeah, if you're too busy, I wouldn't try to squeeze it in. But when you do have the time and you can put your stuff together, man, yeah, I let it come back at that point, I would say. But that's just my opinion.
Shout out to Captain Cox and Lariana Rochette. That's what I want to say.
Okay, jump in.
There you go.
What was that for?
Well, Kipton has been my best friend all my life.
Okay.
I hope that will never change. I love the kid.
Aww.
I feel the same way about Caleb too. So.
And then Lariana, she's my girlfriend.
Oh, okay. There we go. Yeah.
11 months, going strong.
Holy cow.
When's it gonna be a year?
The 1 year is June 23rd.
Oh, man.
Look out for Instagram posts
Already
that
starting
day.
the anniversary. There you
The
go.
anniversary. But Kipton, me and Kipton don't even need a date. Me and Kipton have been best friends since before kindergarten.
Yeah.
I think Caleb and I met each other 4-year-old preschool, pre-kindergarten, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And we have stuck together like no other group ever. Like we argue a lot because we're both sports fans.
Yeah.
And, we have our arguments pretty much every day, just talking about stuff.
Yeah.
But, what friends are not going to argue about some things?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So-
Well, especially if you go on vacations together, you're going to end up being like brothers, and you're going to, trust me, brothers
he
get on each other's nerves.
Took
big
me
time.
to Utah, which I will never, ever not thank him for that. That was one of the best experiences in my life. If you didn't know, I went to an Iowa State BYU game in all Hawkeye gear.
Yeah.
I don't regret a second of that, but he gave me that opportunity. His family has done so much for me, and I'm just thankful for that.
Yeah.
So,
Ben and JC are awesome.
yeah.
Yep. Love those guys. All right. Hey, I think we're going to be able to make this a two-parter. We're closing in on like 48 minutes, and I got one more question I want to ask you guys, and then we'll save the segments and stuff for next week. But the magic of editing, we're just going to do them in like 5 minutes after this. But I want you guys to tell me, and we'll start with Ryker, what's one thing you're looking forward to this summer? If, like we talked about earlier, there's no better time than to be a kid, either going into high school or high school kid, junior high, whatever, and you guys are at the beginning of your summer break. I know you're playing baseball and that, but tell me one thing you're like, I'm so glad summer's here because I'm looking forward to this.
Probably hanging out with, all my friends. I know that's the basic answer,
No, that's good.
but all my friends and even my girlfriend and her friends all have the same mindset as me. We all like doing the same thing.
Okay.
Like even she now, I've got her into sports. She knows like 4 Seahawks players, which
She
works
tried
for
to
me.
get you into archery, and that did not work.
No,
Oh, man, archery was great.
but
I just
yeah.
went to nationals, too.
I know,
That was
I
cool.
saw
yeah.
that.
So anyway, continue.
All of my friends have the same mindset. We all love playing baseball. We all love playing football. We all enjoy being around each other, and we're all our true selves around each other. Like when you're at home, you're talking to some family members, you might act like completely different. You want to be nice, put your tuxedo on and go talk to your family.
Mm-hmm.
But when we're all with each other, we're all like, if anybody's seeing Outer Banks, we're all like, we're all
No
we
way
are
you're
the
comparing
OBS.
this. Oh
I
my
haven't
gosh.
seen it, but I've been explained. The gist of the show has been explained to me before.
John B, JJ, and Sarah. Like,
Oh my goodness!
it's-
Way to go.
we all act like those kinds. We're just like, we're not careless, but we all don't care enough to not care.
Okay, you're losing me. You come down rocking the Cubs gear. I'm like, Riker, that's my kid right there. That's good. And then you
Outer
reference
Banks.
Outer Banks. I'm just like, yeah.
Not those kind of.
In my day, it was Dawson's Creek and any other preppy. I don't know.
What's the
We're
one
getting outside
Disney
of it.
Channel show? Like Bunked?
Bunked.
That's an old Disney.
I love
show.
Bunked. Jesse.
There you go.
I can name any Jesse episode from. I used to be addicted to that show. It's crazy.
We just talked about Disney on the last episode a little bit because obviously there was some stuff going on at Nickelodeon back in the day, and we had to get into that documentary just a little bit. But it's crazy stuff, the stuff they're putting in kids' content these days. But okay, Zach, what's something you're looking forward to this summer?
Playing baseball.
Playing baseball.
I've wanted to, break through into high school sports for so long, and I'm so ready for it. And, I'm ready to lift over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to play baseball. I'm ready to do all that stuff. Continue FFA stuff, do all that. Ryker and I are going to DC this summer. Yep. We're going
Really?
to
DC, New York.
DC, New NYC.
What is it? Just Iowa trip. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, it's.
Is it the school trip
Yep.
that Davey
Yep.
set up or whatever?
Yep.
Oh, awesome.
I think
Good
Ryker and I
guys.
roomed together. So
Really?
yeah, I think it's. I know it's you and me. Okay, I think we're trying to make it you, me, Marshall Weepy, and Derek Matthias.
Please.
Which that'd be the best group ever.
the Music Boys.
Yeah, enjoy it, man. I definitely want to get that way at some
But-
point.
See, I want to find someone to hang out with this year because I'm I'm like all by myself all the time.
No hard feelings, Caleb.
Yeah, I know. I'm like I'm
someone else to hang out with.
Yeah.
That's what you're
Well, Riker knows what I mean, but anyways, yeah, it's just like I want to go golfing more this summer.
Okay.
Obviously play baseball all the time, and then find someone to talk to, stuff like that, and just hang out with other people.
Okay. I got you.
That kind of stuff.
Man, enjoy it. Enjoy having the summer to look forward to because, yeah, once you graduate, man, the summers, I mean, it just becomes the work life.
I will say, we never said what our favorite broadcast was, so I'm going to circle
Okay,
back. If
yeah,
Riker,
go
if
ahead.
Riker knows what it is, right? I'll let Riker go first.
Mine's the Wapsie Valley versus Strapola basketball game because that was one of the 5 broadcasts that I was there and we won. Tanner Bergman had a dunk. Landon Molds was so close to it.
He rimmed out a dunk.
Yeah.
But yeah, we played out of our minds. Briggs Bamey, like
I mean, it is Trapola, but still.
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 We look like LaMelo and Lonzo Ball back in high school.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Tanner and Bamey,
Okay.
awesome.
Okay.
I would say I'm obviously going to go the wrestling route.
Okay.
Because that's where my heart is. I love broadcasting wrestling. It's my favorite thing ever. I have it narrowed down to 3, and I'm trying to pick which one I want. Obviously, the one that sticks out to me the most is the first time I ever got to broadcast in a college arena, which is at Extreme Arena this past year for state duels.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't a barn burner. There wasn't anything crazy. It was just I get to broadcast in a college arena. And then the other 2 are duels to go to the state duels. At Britt?
Yes.
And then at Lisbon.
Okay.
Lisbon was crazy.
So the reason why I might lean towards Britt is because the Lisbon one or the Britt one shouldn't have happened. Because Derek Hilsenbach should not have won that match. Yeah. Like he was going against a 4th-ranked kid in the state.
Yeah.
And he looked like that. He made that kid look like he never wrestled in his life before.
Yeah.
And it was the craziest thing that ever happened. I got to do it with one of my long-time best teacher ever, friends now, Mr. Forsyth, Wyatt Forsyth. He was a great sidekick that I've had all year. Yeah. And I'm used to being the sidekick guy for wrestling, especially. When it comes to basketball, volleyball, I'm usually the lead anchor there.
Because I'm there.
Yeah, because he's there. And that kind of just flows a little better. But
yeah.
When I had Wyatt there, it taught me how to be that lead anchor for wrestling. When usually I'm the guy losing my mind, going crazy, the crazy analyst.
Color guy,
dude.
yeah.
And because I know a lot about the sport. And Wyatt does too, because he wrestled in high school, he coached junior high wrestling, he did all that. But the Lisbon one, man. I mean, that was almost my first year. I think it was my 2nd year of doing it. And it was crazy because it was tied. And the Brit one, we were winning. And if Derek got the win there, even if it was just a decision, we still would have won the duel. But the Lisbon one was tied. Mm-hmm. Like, this is for all of it.
Yeah.
Winner takes all. And, Easton Crawl had just come back from an injury.
Yep.
He had that rough year where he just couldn't seem to stay healthy.
Couldn't get healthy, yeah.
And then he comes back, pins the kid in 15 seconds, we all go home. And if you remember that broadcast, I mistakenly said that we were going to go to criteria. Because I had thought that the duel was over, and it was tied 33-33. So I was starting to think who had the most pins, which Wapsie did, so we would have won anyways. And because it goes pins, and then I think it goes tech falls, major decisions, and then just who won more matches. Mm-hmm. But then I see Easton Crawl take his warm-up off and walk towards the scores table, and I'm like, we got one more? Blake's like, yeah, we got one more match. I'm like, this is for all of it. Like, this is for everything. Yep. Everything you could have dreamt of. This is what it is right
Roll
here.
the 7 Nation Army.
Yeah, because this was the first year that Brian Crawl was the head coach.
Yeah.
And they go to the state duels. It was crazy. And obviously the obvious one there is my first ever wrestling broadcast.
Okay.
The quad against North Fayette Valley, Bellevue, and East Buchanan. But that one was a bad broadcast. But because I was young and didn't know what I was doing. But I would have to go. I'm thinking I'm going to go with the Lisbon one.
Yeah.
The Lisbon one sticks out to me just because.
That's the one where you screamed into the mic or whatever?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was the one where we actually broke. My dad's phone, it broke his sound thing in his phone for like a few seconds. the sound just cut out because we were so loud screaming all the time that we like broke the sound thing on our soundboard. It was the craziest thing ever.
A lot of excitement, and you know, the whole wrestling thing got me excited this year too. I mean, Crawl helped me. I got some water issues out in my driveway that you guys probably didn't notice as bad because Crawl cut a channel drain into my driveway. And so we're talking wrestling over the summer and whatever. And like that guy truly cares about all those kids. Like the things he said to me is like some like I've been in kids ministry in church, you know, since I was like 20 years old. And that's like serious stuff. You're developing relationships. You're trying to get kids on the right path in life and things like that. And Crawl is saying, like, these kids they become my family. Like, I will do anything for them. I want the best for them. It's not just what they can do for me, you know, on the wrestling mat. Like, they become my wrestling family. And I was like, man, that's the kind of guy, like, I can support. And, yeah, it's a good thing. It's good to be a part of. And it's good to hear, you know, the excitement in the calls.
Yeah, and he still brings the fiery, like, crazy stuff that Danny Adams used to have.
Yeah.
Which, like, going from Mr. Adams to Coach Crawl was basically a sideways move. Like
a lateral move.
He had coached under him for so long. Yeah. Like, we see this stuff with the Brands brothers. They coached like Gable did. You know why?
Because they were under Gable. They wrestled for Gable, and they were under Gable.
They wrestled for Gable, and they coached under Gable forever. So, you know, getting rid of one guy, bringing in another, especially when he coached
it was just like Wapsie when Southmaid left for, what was it, or wherever, and Foster moved up. Like, the system didn't, like, all of us knew, like, man, Wapsie's still going to be dominant.
Yeah, nothing changed.
Or the program's going to stay. Yeah. And same thing from Tony to Dwayne, except what, now we started passing maybe a little bit more in the Kobe Reese years. Yeah.
Well, and you had to do that because how good Kobe and Blade were, like, the best wide receiver quarterback duo ever.
Yeah. That wasn't just Dwayne's a changing of the guard of scheme.
And plus, Dwayne didn't come in until after that.
Oh, that was still Foster was still head coach in that? Okay,
Tony,
there you go.
Dwayne didn't come in until 2021.
But Dwayne was OC.
Yeah,
though, under
Tony was OC.
Okay, yeah. So
and then when
same year Siddig went in, right?
Yeah, and then when Tony left, Dwayne moved up to head coach. We brought in Siddig as our OC.
Right. Okay.
And as our offensive line coach, he is the best hype man you'll ever find.
Siddig?
If he's on your back, if he's behind you, you
feel like you can run through walls, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we're at Shields the other day. This is the last one for this, and then we're gonna wrap this episode. We're closing in on an hour. We're at Shields the other day. Me and James. He needs a new girdle or whatever. So we go get this thing, and we're checking out, and it's this younger girl. I mean, I'm guessing maybe 20. So she could be senior high school. She could be a couple years into college. Can't really tell. And she goes, oh, yeah, I'm wearing a Wapsie sweatshirt or whatever, and we're getting football gear, obviously. And she said something about, oh, okay, yeah, you guys from Wapsie? Yeah, oh, I'm from Hudson. And JJ brings up this infamous event. It must have been a junior high game at some point where we're going through the line. JJ just says something to her like, oh yeah, we have a problem with one of your coaches. He told one of our players to like F off or something, or he threatened one of our kids. And I look over at James. I'm like, she just said she's from Hudson, and you're like trying to like stir up stuff while she's ringing us up. What are you doing? That. And yeah, it was like we were going through the lines to shake hands or something, and the coach looked down at Breyer Bellis and said F off or something.
Breyer had a game of his life that game. He had 3 touchdowns. He had like a 78-yard touchdown.
Okay.
In that game, he like beat Hudson single-handedly.
Was that 7th grade or 8th grade? What was it?
7th grade.
Okay.
And that was the game where our offensive line was probably the best it had ever been. Going up against the team that every kid on that line was either taller or bigger than us.
Yeah, Hudson's got a good line.
They had a nose guard that was so big that I couldn't block him. So I was struggling to I just had to move in places. And I was good at that. And then I come over to the sideline. Ben's like, you just got to learn how to chop block him.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I'm like, whatever. So I go back out. I chop block. First time I chop block him, he doesn't even care. He just falls on me.
Yeah.
Wind knocked out of me for the next 3 plays. And I'm like gasping for air as we come to the line. And he's like, you shouldn't chop block me again. He goes, I won't.
So this girl, though, she goes, oh, I wonder which coach it was, because my dad coaches. And I already know. I was like, guarantee it's her dad. I just know it. I know it.
Oh, no.
And JJ, I'm just like, whatever she says, JJ, just please be thinking in your head, say, nah, it wasn't him. She goes, tall guy with a beard? JJ goes, yep. She goes, yep, that was my dad. I was like, okay, here's my card. Like, can we please go? It's just getting awkward. It's like, oh, my goodness. But... okay, yeah, that's a heck of a way to end the first episode.
Anyway.
Very good.
There
So,
you go.
if you guys enjoyed this lighter episode with Zack and Ryker, I mean, this is just kind of our summer kickoff special here. We kind of talked a little bit everything. They told you a little bit about who they are, what they're interested in, some of their experiences so far with FFA, broadcasting, baseball. Ryker even gave a shout out to his girlfriend. That better earn some points, I tell you.
Brownie
My
points
goodness.
for the boy.
So, if you like this, hey, I'm glad you liked it. Share it with some people. Follow our Facebook, Instagram. Maybe you'll win a shirt or a hat or something. These guys are going to leave with something free today just for coming on. I promise you that. So, tune in next week for their part 2. We're going to get into their segments. I'm going to grill these guys on some sports trivia. I'm going to find out what they really know about who the greatest players and teams are of NFL history. They better mention this one jersey right up here because Bo Jackson was... no one could compare to
Here's
him. Here's
your hint. He's not on my team, so sorry about that.
He doesn't have to be on your team, but he is one of the
Oh.
greatest players of all time. I mean, if you
Okay.
Athletes.
if you don't admit to that right now, there will be no part 2.
Oh, okay. Yes, he's one of the best running backs of all time.
Exactly. There we go. Okay. So, guys, I thank you for listening. I appreciate all the support so far. Join us for part 2 with Zack and Ryker next time. Lord willing, I'll talk to you then.